Hello, I'm Ron Burgess with Microgiants. I was recently asked to give a presentation on what would happen after COVID, post-COVID, with marketing. How are things different, and what kinds of changes are going to be required? And so this is a seminar that I did for the Manufacturers Council of the Inland Empire just yesterday. We had some technical glitches, so I thought I would redo it for you today. There will be a lot of things that are different as we get through COVID, and hopefully that will happen very quickly. But one of the issues is how are we going to recover? How are we going to grow? And that's what the topic of this is about. When you talk about radical changes, which I think will show today that we're going through, you have to also consider strategy. And you all understand and know a little bit about strategy, so I'm going to briefly go through that. But this is post-COVID strategy session. And so some people are saying that, in fact, many of the experts that I've read have said that the markets will just not be like pre-COVID. And many things have changed forever. And so we're going to just discuss some of those trends today. So first of all, just to get us on the same page, you're all aware of what strategy is. Let's define it. Business strategy can be understood as the course of action or a set of decisions which assist the business managers to achieve specific business objectives. Well, in this particular case, we're talking about the business objective being getting back into a normal growth mode. Now, some of you have grown too much. I'm on the boards of two companies, both manufacturers, who have too much business. And that's another kind of a problem. That's another kind of a customer service issue, which I consider part of the overall marketing umbrella. You may not have to be out trying to find new customers. So things are upside down, but there are some trends that we still have to be aware of, regardless of what your circumstance might be. Now, all strategy having to do with marketing starts with customers. That means niche markets. Customers each have niche markets that they are within. They may have several niche markets. You may have niche markets that include the same customer. But bottom-up planning is the important part here, not top-down. There are too many companies, remarkably still today, I've been talking about this for well over 20 years, that the idea of just picking a point in the sand and planting the flag on 10% growth, that simply has never worked. Yes, it provides the kind of thing that you can treat as a stretch goal. You want your salespeople to stretch for a little bit more, etc. But likely it also has the effect of being too much. On the other end of the spectrum, if you don't understand the market and your position in that market, you might leave business on the table. And so just picking a percentage never really works. Really, you have to build it based on where's the market, who are your customers, how much increase from each customer can you get. And so that's where we start this process. So why does strategic planning fail in terms of trying to build a really good plan that will accomplish your growth goals? Well, people and machines and systems pull in different directions. We have people look at sales revenue. Salespeople love that. They want to be able to bring it in, as opposed to looking at contribution margin. Contribution margin is more important than the sales itself. And therefore, you need to understand your break-even points, potentially across divisions or products, in order to be able to know how to properly sell to the right people, the right place, to maximize your profit. That's not typically the mentality of salespeople. You have internal company versus external market trends tension. People in the company think that we should do one thing, and without very good communication, they'll be rooting for one set of circumstances, but the markets on the outside have no voice unless you have a really good customer feedback system and customer research program to be able to understand exactly how those changes are happening. We hope to help you with one small aspect of that right now. Of course, I just mentioned poor communication. Sometimes people look at unit volume, particularly manufacturers. How many of these can we make? That's important. But the real issue is, what's our gross profit going to be? And off of each unit, and when do we hit break even on a machine or a line, and when do we cover all of our fixed costs. You see, we're not really, doesn't sound like marketing speak, does it? But it is. This is the core of marketing. Marketing is much more about the economics of a niche market than it is the promotion to a few customers. Yes, promotion, communications, that's all part of marketing, but it's not about design. It's about strategy at the upper levels as it affects the economics of your particular business. Of course, you've got people who like status quo versus looking towards future trends, which is what we're doing right now. And naturally, you've got limitations of capital and talented labor in order to be able to do these things. It's a balancing act of three major components. And you know what? These three major components, all companies have limited resources. So it's important for everybody to really attempt to balance these things. What are they? A company's capabilities. What can you really do? What are your people capable of? What are their skill levels? What kind of throughput does your company have? What kind of market advantages do you have? People, how good are they? And how competent are they? How consistent are they? You know, managing people is among the most difficult management tasks that there really is. And of course, capital. You don't have enough money to do everything. And so you have to pick what you do. And you need to therefore align your customer needs with your company assets in order to efficiently meet those goals. So it focuses on the customer. Yes, absolutely. That's where it starts. And way too few companies have adequate customer feedback loops. We're not going to talk about feedback loops today, but the Microgiants channel has some videos specifically on customer feedback that we've done in our Microgiants meetings. Each customer exists in several market niches, and each company, you have probably several market niches too. You have probably more than one product, and those products may all apply to a single niche market. Sometimes the skills and competencies of a company make it possible to do 2 or 3 or 4 similar products for different niche markets. Each one of you need to carefully understand it. And remember this, widening your niche is not the solution to your problems. Narrowing your niche will always be a better solution. Having more of a market niche, more ownership of a market niche, being 1, 2, or 3 in a very small market is way more profitable than being number 3, 4, or 5 in a larger market. I wrote a book on that called Finding Your Niche in the Market. Which you can find on any place that sells books. It's actually Finding Your Crack in the Market by Ron Burgess. So let's move on. Now, what are the details that we need to know about these markets? So you want to know the size of the niche. You need everything: units, dollars, the geography, the growth rate, your competition, everything. You need to understand price sensitivity in that particular market as well. We talked briefly about pricing sensitivity. You can't do pricing strategy unless you really understand who your competition is, what their price points are, and where the niche is going. You need to know the types of buyers in the niche. Sometimes you have distributors. Manufacturers have a lot of distributors many times. And those distributors have buyers. Those buyers have certain needs. They're not the same as end user preferences. You need to understand those as well. Of course, your product differentiators, your company service differentiators, and each of the personas that is a group of people with like characteristics that behave in a certain way. That is something that has happened in the last 5 or 10 years, which is really helping people focus on how to develop communications for specific niches and specific personas in those niches. All of these things added up together gives you an opportunity to really meet your goals. Now, remember, all of these things have to line up with your marketing materials, your website, advertising, presentations, your sales approach, your sales training, everything that is under this giant marketing umbrella. We haven't talked about logos or design or websites. That there's a place for that. We'll touch about that. I'm talking about the full umbrella of marketing. The word marketing is much closer to the word management. Marketing is in most departments. And if you take a look at all true related activities, many manufacturers are spending 40% of their expenses on the marketing functions. So if you include distribution channels, product development, and engineering, all of these kinds of things, anything that is between your company competencies and your customer, anything is actually part of that marketing umbrella. So you see, it's a very wide term that is completely misused within the marketing community even. Finally, this customer journey. Things are changing. We'll talk about that. So here are a couple of the trends. A lot of these markets have fundamentally changed. We want to talk about. Now, new research and better understanding has to be gathered in order to be able to fully take advantage of this. Nearly every single operation in marketing is moving towards digital. Now, I'm not talking just about marketing, but as you'll see, there's a lot more in marketing, digital marketing than you may be aware of. But I'm not even going to touch all of the rest of digital having to do with how your sensors in your machines are providing data to your central database and your accounting system, et cetera, which is accessible to the appropriate pieces are accessible to your customer service team. So that's all digital as well. But everything in business is moving towards digital. If you're not moving faster than your competitors, then what's happening is that you feel like you're running pretty fast, but the treadmill is getting faster and faster, and you're not going to be able to keep up very possibly if you're not pretty far down the road on that, and you continue to spend money on that issue. So this increased the pressure really to quickly add your digital functionality that really has been lacking for years. In marketing, many of you haven't done any digital marketing since you built your website. Now, I founded a company that was to help clients build marketing execution, promotion planning, all of those typical marketing things that you think of, direct mail. That included websites and the website business since we started in 1998. The website business was just an emerging technology, and a lot of people didn't know what to do with it. We felt like we had a good sense for what was going to happen, and it did. We ended up building well over 500 websites in that period of time. It's interesting, though, that the majority of websites, the vast majority of websites, it is treated as a checkoff issue. We got our website, check, move on to the next thing. In other words, it's not been used as an active marketing tool. It's just a billboard. It's like, I wonder where we can get the phone number of company XYZ. Oh, we'll look on the website. Well, yeah, you can get the phone number, but have you really helped the sales process? No, not really. A lot of SEO is being done, but in the wrong ways. Now, we're not going to talk about all those things today. We don't have nearly enough time to open that vast subject. All I'm saying is that I'm absolutely assured that the majority of you listening to this have not done nearly enough on your website to solve the problems that the customer journey demands. And we'll talk about that here in just a second. So customers and buyers in business to business really have fundamentally changed, and they expect to be sold and supported in an entirely different way today. So here are some of the facts. I want to talk about these. McKinsey & Company is one of the companies I really respect for their research. It's a huge global Fortune 500 type clients, and as a result, they have a very large research budget, and they have a lot of top experts doing the research and writing the articles. And so this is brand new information, as of November 2020. And so let's go through some of these things. This is important, and this represents a remarkable shift in what your customers and your buyers are expecting out of you. First of all, you can see that this one here shows the B2B seller interactions and how they have moved to digital. So if we kind of pop to the bottom here and take a look at this, you can see that we're going through an evaluation, identifying customers, evaluating new suppliers. This is from the buyer's perspective. Then they order and then they reorder. Well, down at the very bottom is the digital self-service. So amazingly, they want to find you, not the other way around, right? 22%. Same want to do the evaluation on their own. And then when you get to ordering and reordering, a third actually want to do it completely self-service on digital. How many of you are able to do that? Now, some of you who sell products, say out of the warehouse, may have shopping carts that do some of this. Great, that's a good start to that. Many of you who are in the custom business or need technical specifications done are not even close to this and require quite a lot of customer rep time in order to be able to get the product done. And so that is a little harder to accomplish for those of you in that category. Doesn't mean you should attempt though. Well, when you talk about this remote category, you can see that, half would much rather have a conversation on the phone or with email or chat than see you in person, only about 30%. When you get to the ordering and reordering stage, that drops to just 20%. So only 20% want you to drop by the office. And they might be saying that just because they like the personal interaction, because of the kind of people that they are. That's very possible. But basically 70 to 80% would rather have an opportunity to do things digitally in one mode or another because their scheduling is better, they save on travel expenses, it's safety. And the truth of the matter is that this dislike of having sales reps drop by has existed for decades. I had the opportunity to be a buyer for about 15 years. It was my own company, but I was the primary buyer, and I can't tell you how distracting it was to my day to have somebody fly into town and say, "I'm here and I need to speak to you while I'm here, and I got to leave tomorrow morning, and so how can you squeeze me in?" No, I'm already scheduled. I can't squeeze you in. And many times I needed the details, the specifications. I didn't need to have the salesman tell me and pitch me because I had done very deep research on what I was going to buy. It was just a matter of selecting, the best price, the best delivery point, which I did not need to do in person. Okay. Now, remote engagement successfully supports selling and prospecting. So this is kind of a key point. When you're looking at existing customers, 9, 11, 15%, basically saying they are much more productive with this new digital world. Now take a look at the dates. This is from April, beginning of April, end of April, and August 11th. So you can see that this went from 9 to 15%. Somewhat more found it went from 18 to 31% over the same period of time. The same, about 30%, but people who think it's less efficient dropped from 39 to 20%. And new customers are about the same. In other words, only 20% feel as though the online / email chat / telephone is less efficient than doing something in place with this little 5%. So that's 25%. 76% of your customers actually like it, and they believe it's more efficient. It's time for you to change the way you do things. You probably have already changed, but you're not going to go back. I think maybe that's the point. Now, so what are companies doing about it? The same research also indicated that the change in capital expenditure and operational expenditures, investments over the next 5 will increase by 41%. Now, if this is not you, this is your competitor. And if you're not moving towards digital investments in this short period of time, you will be behind. And ultimately what will happen is, and large companies are already doing this, Walmart's been doing it for many years, they're going to expect your computers to hook up to their computers, okay? They want some seamless digital work done. So this is hard for small companies. I recognize that. I have worked for over 30 years consulting to small companies. I understand and know them well. I've been inside for decades with the same kinds of customers in some cases, and I understand how difficult this is, but it needs to be tackled. Okay, so I went through and prepared for you my recommendations. And then when I saw McKinsey's recommendations, I realized I had done 5 and they had done 6. I decided I'd just roll it forward and let you see what McKinsey is recommending, because it includes my recommendations for what you need to do and where you need to go in this. You got to focus on your sales channels and your distribution. They want to make sure that you focus on speed, transparency, and expertise. People still want that. That's number one. That doesn't necessarily say digital, but I think as we go forward, you'll see it does include digital. Optimize your e-commerce channel. So here we are on the website to give buyers ease and convenience. Make sure that your sales channels are integrated and incentivized to collaborate with each other. This is not a small job. I get it. Some very small, and interestingly, some very small manufacturers will be able to, because they're so narrow, they'll be able to do this much easier than medium size. If you've got 50, 100, 250 people, your systems are more complex. You are actually climbing a bigger mountain than even a smaller manufacturer. So just be aware of that. 3, fix the top buyer frustrations with the website. Fix your long ordering process. By that, it's like convoluted, difficult to produce and send out. How can you make it faster and faster and faster? Keep in mind, many consumers and buyers are going online, comparing 3 things, making a decision, knowing the price, knowing the delivery, bam. Amazon has kind of ruined our world. If you are one of those manufacturers that is way behind in production, it takes a long time to put together estimates, doesn't understand their costs well enough to be able to do estimates on the fly, then you're behind the curve. Those things need to change. 4, offer human touch whenever customers need it. So this is really saying, look, you have to go digital, but you don't have to, get rid of your people. You still need that for customers who want it, and in those few occasions when they want it. It's really nice to be able to have very, very quick, instant access to people through chat or phone or whatever they need. You need to have people prepared to be able to do that. 5, create a pod of digital enablement experts that will help migrate your people to the digital, etc. Oh man, this is hard. And very few of you out there have enough people, hundreds and hundreds of people, so that you can hire a pod to help do this. And therefore, with the resources lacking, you have to be very careful and strategic about how you combine these systems, the process of rollout, the training process. And you also have to be very straightforward with your folks, being tough with your employees right now. This may not be the right time because so many of you are having very, very difficult hiring situations. But as we get through this, you've got to insist that if you're going to make these changes, that your people follow them. They have got to change, and that will be one of your biggest problems, is getting your people to adhere to new systems, new policies. And of course, make sure they're well thought through before you implement. Don't do something that needs to be retracted. You've got to be right when you make these decisions, and you have to have buy-in so that people will do it. Remap your customer decision journey to capture changes in the next normal. And I mentioned that earlier on, and they really did mention it in the research. I think we're pretty much together on that. So here's the way we used to do things as far as getting down to growing and how you're going to present your company's products to your customers. In the olden days, we used to say, "Oh, it's a funnel," and you dump all the suspects in, and some of the customers come out at the bottom. Well, okay. There are a lot of models of this. Some people say suspects, some people put prospects here. But basically, the concept is you just fill it with as much as you can. You filter out, you try and get your prospects. People call them different things. Then they make a consideration, or they're in that, they're in that phase where they've been qualified as prospects. They haven't quite made a decision, but they're considering your product or service. And finally, they become a customer. That's just not the way it works anymore. And you need to throw your funnel ideas away. This is more reasonable. It's a cycle. Customers come in and go out of this cycle. And the reason that it has to change is because the salesperson is no longer the point of information. The internet is the point of information. So the first thing that happens under the initial consideration set, not sure about that name, but when they make a decision to buy, what happens is they start this little journey. They realize they want to do it, or they need it. They go to the internet, that's the first thing they do. They may look at social or be guided by social, but typically in B2B, they go to the internet. They educate themselves. They consider the brand reputation, quality issues, companies that they know versus ones that they don't know. And about in this area right here, this is when they begin to compare so they can decide. This is when most telephone calls finally come in. So today, HubSpot, a big company that does this online marketing stuff, and they've done enormous research on this, they say about 85% of the decision has been determined or made before they actually call a rep or they inquire online. 85%. And so if you have old-fashioned reps, maybe my age, who are used to telling the whole story to everybody who calls, it's like, no. They've already done this. There's a chance that the customer knows more than you do as a sales rep about what they're looking at. So you need to meet them where they are. This is a paradigm shift. You need to meet them where they are. Recognize that they know certain things, query them about, okay, have you looked at this? You've done this research, okay, great. Now let's talk about how to compare what you're thinking about with what we can do for you. It's a different paradigm. You need to study that. There's a lot of information online about this shift. You can go on HubSpot. There's a lot of free information about this shift in these kinds of statistics. They finally make the decision, bam, they've got the purchase. But that's not where it stops. It used to be, once they got to the customer category, they were there they were, You had to do something really bad in order to lose them, but they were always customers. Well, not really. The truth of the matter is that they're still evaluating you after the purchase. Was it easy to do? Did it take too long to accomplish? Did the delivery schedule get met? And then they have the full experience of the product, and then they finally get to what is called a post-service time. This has to be good as well. Was a warranty issue brought up? Was a warranty handled satisfactorily? Did you, in fact, earn their business again? And if you have, you get to this new purchase trigger. And what happens is they then go around the loyalty loop, and they're not looking at everything the way they did. They've made a decision that your continued value is, in fact, adequate to be able to do more business with you. We're talking about price, value, quality, service, and the brand the overall brand perception. That's what we call the value diamond. And if in fact they perceive that the value is as good or better, then you're going to get the business again, and they're going to come back around, and they're going to constantly evaluate. That makes more sense today because of all of the inputs that they can get from other places. Now, just to show you that it's not as simple as the previous um, concept, just a cycle around and around. I understand, and many of you are saying, "Oh, my business is harder than that. We have a lot of specifications, a lot of things we have to go through." Yes, I understand that. This is just to illustrate and to remind me and you. Yes, there are complex sales that need to be completed with multiple steps. And in this particular case, this is showing the personal interaction to buy insurance versus the digital interaction. So yes, I understand that. But what I have said about digital doesn't change just because it's complicated. Maybe more difficult to accomplish, but it's still valid. Okay, quickly, brief summary. There are new tools that can help you and support how to make the selling paradigm shift. First of all, websites. We've already talked about that. You may not be able to use your old website guy because he doesn't understand programming, or consider looking for another company that has done bigger websites that can do small changes for not very much money. You should be adding a lot of content to your website. We can't really talk about that. We can do that at a future time, but you need to have a web company that can guarantee you that they can post to your blog. If you don't have people to do it internally, post to your blog within 24 hours. This idea of waiting 2 or 3 or 4 days is simply inappropriate and ridiculous. A webmaster that can't do, a company that can't do that is a company you don't need to do business with. And it's too important to be able to get it up to coordinate with everything else that you're doing. Okay, prospecting tools. There are some new things that are online. Of course, you want to use your website to attract the right people to your products. The prospecting tools can automate some of these things. Here are, I mentioned HubSpot already. I have to, full disclosure, Red Fusion is a certified reseller of HubSpot. We're really no longer active in selling HubSpot because we're in the process of winding that business down. But there are others. Salesforce is another one that you've heard of. Also, another one is InfusionSoft, which is a smaller and less expensive tool, mostly doing email, but they've added a CRM, a database for your customer information. And so it's important to have a CRM and to look into these digital tools. One of the things that is a trend that I want you to understand is video. We're using video right now. Normally I would have an audience, we did yesterday, but when we do these for micro giants meetings, or I've got a little group of consultants that do a regular show, we're utilizing these tools, and you've used Zoom too. And there are a lot of other tools to be able, but we're getting comfortable with it. What I'm saying here is that short little specific one-on-one videos are capable of really communicating very nicely too, even to answer one individual question, particularly if you want to demonstrate something. So your sales reps really need to be getting comfortable with new tools, not only with Zoom, but with the ability to send people very quickly information that is specific to that particular purchase, particularly those of you who are selling, large priced items in the thousands versus, small widgets. So that's a new emerging technology. Start thinking about that. So unfortunately, small firms that don't have a deep selling bench or a lot of good in-house technical people who see the future vision are going to have a problem with it. But there are companies out there that can help you. And I'll just say that InfusionSoft is one that we had tested, and its service has been good. HubSpot has incredible service. They will help you in the training programs online for these tools. And I assume Salesforce is just as good because Salesforce was one of the main investors in HubSpot. But the online training tools are magnificent. But remember, whoever, you have to have someone to run it, or you have to hire an outside consultant. And if the person who doesn't have the inside that you want to run it doesn't have the ability to think technically about how this can go and how to put it together, you're going to have a problem. Now, a lot of salespeople, they're not the best on technical stuff. And if you've ever run a large sales force like I have, well, large, I mean 15 or 20 salespeople, you know that you're hiring people to be able to figure out how to close. That's the most important thing. You do the prospecting form, that's marketing's job, but the salespeople are to get in front of the customer and close. Well, now get in front doesn't mean face-to-face. We've talked about that. What it means is, how do we develop a mini relationship so that we can open the door to getting them on that initial investigation track to our company? How do we get them to look at our website as a first step? How do we really write the copy to get them to move a suspect to a prospect and a prospect to a qualified customer? How do you build forms to do that? How do you do the feedback? HubSpot does all of these things. And so, but it's complicated. You know, it's not easy to implement, and not complicated in the sense that you have to be a programmer, just that the system itself allows complexity. And so you have to have the right people to do this. That's going to be the biggest struggle. Here's just an example of the way that InfusionSoft allows you to drag and drop to literally program. So it's not, like I say, you don't have to be a technical person. You just have to be comfortable with technology. And so in this particular case, they're saying, okay, here's a Yahoo link that came in from Facebook. Here is the landing page. Here's what we do. Here's how we communicate. You do this whole thing. You can see there are a lot of steps. Well, if you do this for a complex sale, it's 3 or 4 times more than this, but you can build it slowly, one system at a time. And you need to start because this is the reality for the future. Okay, today, here are the processes that you can do that are sort of outside the purview of getting in the car and driving out to wherever you used to drive. Inbound prospecting. This is a whole system. You can look inbound up, go to HubSpot and look inbound. They started their business doing inbound. That's the whole point of bringing people to your website with using very specific tools and methodology that is successful in getting people to come. I know this works. I've done it. My firm has done it. And we have been able to raise online prospects by 200, 300, 400%. In a traditional company, one in Colorado, I'm still on the board. We have taken a door-to-door sales company and managed to get 1/3 of all of their customers. We're talking about 500 new customers a month. 1/3 of all their customers now come and sign up themselves, saving huge costs, salesperson costs. And so we've done that over many years, very big and robust website. But because the cost per close is so high, it's virtually paid for everything that we've done. So they've ended up, because the effectiveness is there, the website, the systems don't cost anything. Online advertising is one of the ways you get people to come in, by linking to specific landing pages. Those have to be written properly, done professionally. Your people can learn it, but they're not going to know it automatically if they don't learn it. You know, don't get somebody who says they like to write and they know your products doing all your content until they've taken a lot of training and classes on how to write these pieces. So it's a serious issue. You have to put serious people on it. Don't take your favorite secretary and make them the marketing manager. I have seen that so many times, and it almost never really works. It's better. The good people will make it better, but they won't solve this problem. And you need real people to do this. Now, I'm retired. I'm not selling anything. I'm just telling you the way I believe. And, I'm not taking new business. So this is a completely unbiased approach to what I think companies really have to do in order to be able to be successful, particularly manufacturing. Outbound opt-in prospecting, that's usually email. In other words, you're interrupting somebody in outbound. That's why HubSpot in particular has basically developed a reverse strategy. They don't want to interrupt people. People don't like to be interrupted anymore. How many sales calls for insurance do you enjoy on your cell phone? That is an interruption to your day. And so it has to be done carefully, but it can be done. But you need to qualify. That's why the opt-in prospecting, you need to qualify those people. And that's important to do in order to be able to do that successfully. Outbound relationship development is something that's sort of a tack on to after you go to inbound prospecting, you can do outbound relationship development, which is just communications. That's the kind of thing that salespeople should be doing on a regular basis, touching people. And the ones who touch more people are the ones who do more closes. So you've got to give them the tools to touch more people, and digital marketing does do that as well. And then, of course, human support, and we talked about that. So we'll end with this old cartoon that really had to do with perceptions of websites. But it applies, because now we're talking about whole systems that are developed digitally that really exist in your office and on the internet, and therefore the world. And the little guy and the captain is on his way out, and they're looking at this small periscope, and they're saying, that little website, how can that take our traffic? LOL. Well, the point here is that this giant attack submarine is under the surface, and this poor guy has no idea that he's about to get shot out of the water. That's the metaphor for what we've been talking about today. So we don't have specific solutions. We only had enough time to be able to point you in the right direction, but I just can't say more emphatically that the digital world, believe it or not, and the internet started in 1995, 1996, was in full bloom by 2000. We're 20 years down the road from there. Why are you not more digital than you are? That's the question. Now, why is this important? It's important because COVID has moved adoption of digital forward 8 years. We used to be on a schedule that was, incremental and going up, a regular pace. But what's happened is that with COVID, we're coming up, and then bam, now we're up like this. And so this huge steep change in the curve is something that you need to grab a hold of. So I hope that'll give you some food for thought. And if you would like to have some more information on many of the subjects that I brought up, you can do so on the Microgiants channel. And the easiest way to find that is to simply type in Microgiants, one word, mentoring, Microgiants mentoring, and you'll be able to access that. Microgiants.biz is the website. This is specifically a nonprofit that I've developed to help new entrepreneurs get into business, to be able to get a hold of, understand, and implement the tools to keep them in business that I have learned over the last 35 years working with clients. And so you're welcome to do that. And be sure to sign up and hit the little bell if you'd like notification, because we're adding videos about one a week. So hope you enjoyed this, and hopefully it was fruitful. And thanks for watching.